Welcome back, everybody. Welcome, Wendy Lee. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Doing great. It's sunny outside.
I
We're
know, man.
like in March. Can you believe it?
I know. 2 months of the new year gone, right?
Yeah.
So we're like 18% into the year, and it's already gone, which is wild to think about. But that's not what we're talking about today. I don't know about you, Wendy. I've been seeing a lot of stuff on TikTok and Instagram about younger, newer workers in the workforce complaining about, I can't afford life. I can't afford this. I can't afford a house. I can't afford X, Y, or Z. And I'm sick of it, man. I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant today because you can't afford all these things. And it's maybe not even how you're thinking about it, right? And so we're going to talk about that, what to look for, what to set the expectations, and things you can be doing to live that life you want to live, or you should be living at a younger age and things like that. So we're going to get started in just a minute. So reach out, click that little subscribe button, show some loves. It helps our algorithms. And thanks for joining us today. And we'll get started in just a few seconds. All right, we are back, and I don't know what's in the air. Maybe it's the end of the month or something like that. But I don't know. I saw some of these videos that I was just mentioning, and I'm like, stop.
Feeling a little feisty, aren't you?
I am a little feisty. It's just like, this is BS, right? So we're going to talk about that today in regards to, I can't afford it. I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about that? Do you think they're correct, or do you think they're just looking at the wrong things? I mean,
well, it's so funny because you see like that extreme, right? Online, we can't afford life. I have to live with my parents forever, whatever. Nobody's getting paid enough, blah, 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 blah. And then you have the other side of the coin where you see people that are like creating simple reels online and making, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a month. And so, yeah, I think it all comes down to your perspective and what you, I don't know. I say all the time, life change starts with a made up mind. And if you're going to make up your mind that you're broke, then you're going to be broke. But you can make up your mind that you're going to be successful and that you can, and then you do, right?
Well, I think a lot of social media has created this environment or this world of unrealistic expectations of what life is like. Number one, and I'm not even going to talk about this today, but the idea of, well, I'm going to go to college and then that's going to get me a degree and I'm going to be guaranteed this high paying job. That's not really, and that's one of the things too, that, you've got to realize nobody owes you anything in life. And I think a lot of younger people, not all. And so if it's not you, I'm not talking to you. So don't get triggered and start, blowing us up. But it's one of the things that, you look at. I saw this, girl sitting in her car crying about, oh, when is this? And da, 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 da. But it's all about your perspective, right? And what your expectations, your perspective on how you're handling it, and your expectations of getting right out of school. Because I think a lot of people see these, false lives on social media where they've got all these grandiose things and all these great things. And I'm sorry, folks, but I've seen a lot of reality behind the curtains on some of these social media accounts, and it's BS. They're painting the best picture possible. I think deep down we all know that. But there's some truth to it, right? But there's also this false sense of what to expect. Life, it's just going to come to you, right? I'm gonna think beautiful thoughts, and it's going to manifest all this great life, and that's not real. I'm sorry, I'm going on a little bit of a rant. I know maybe it's too much caffeine. I don't know what it is, but it's just like I'm like, up to here. Let's stop it and talk or have a real conversation. So
yeah, well, yeah, I'm with you, and it's bottom line is you've got to have a healthy mindset, and then like you said, like not looking at like the influencers that paint this picture. This is kind of a side note, but you'll see people online like, oh, I make this per month or that per month, and that are like online people, right? And the reality is they're telling you their revenue, not their income, right? They're telling you what they're making gross, right? And they're not accounting for maybe all the money they spend on ads and things like that to get to that revenue. But so it's really just, I feel like there's just this false idea about, one, how expensive life is, and two, you know, what it takes to be successful.
Yep.
And what success looks like. And
Well,
go ahead.
and that's the thing too, right? It goes back to what you were talking about, your perspective. I mean, you look at the average income in the United States right now, you know, half higher, half lower, 67,000. Okay, you're not flying around in your G5 or anything like that, having that luxury lifestyle, but don't tell me you can't afford life. Have groceries gone up? Definitely. Has the cost of things gone up? Yes. Cars gone up? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming back down. Housing is coming back down, right? And you can disagree with me on that. We can agree to disagree, whatever. Especially it's going to be coming down definitely over the next 12 to 18 months, depending on where you're at. But I think that's really what the expectation. I know when I first got out of school, I could not wait to get out of the house, right? And the thought of ever moving back in with my parents, and I love my parents to death, no way in hell is that happening, right? And I think that was a mindset of Gen X, you know, and I'm not saying Gen X is better than whatever, you know, I'm not getting into all that, but we just had a different perspective and different expectations. I remember the very first apartment I had, I moved to a town, small town, Indiana, right? To get started in life. I couldn't afford to live in a big city, right? And so I found an apartment that was nice. It was clean. It was a 2-bedroom, which means I need a roommate because I can't afford everything on my own.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't know if that's like alien to people today or whatever. And then, you know, I did move down. This was in Indiana. I moved to Indianapolis. Rents were much higher there. So I found a studio apartment that I could afford. And I didn't do a whole lot. I wasn't going to Starbucks all the time. I wasn't going clubbing with my friends. I mean, it was, you know, nickel beer night on Tuesdays and stuff like that back in the day.
Right.
And so it's that I think that expectation, which has come about through the advent of social media and what everybody else, we're comparing ourselves. Oh my gosh, I've got to keep up with Wendy, or I've got to keep up with X, Y, or Z. I can't afford all this. So it's like the system's fault. No, it's not. It's you're allowing that, and agree to disagree with me, but you're allowing that to impact and sway your perspective. When in all reality, I mean, you know, I just pulled up in Dallas, right? I don't know Dallas. I used to work in Dallas, and I'm like, okay, if I could afford a $250,000 home, how many houses would be available? And there were like quite a few, multiple hundreds of homes available, right? I didn't do any deep search or anything like that. I didn't try to look for a deal or anything like that. I just pulled it up. Here it is. That's in Dallas. That's not even including like the outskirts and stuff like that. That's for a single family 3-bedroom house. So again, man, I'd love to have some real estate. Well, let's look at how can I afford that? Well, I got 2 extra bedrooms. Let's find some roommates. They pay me rent. And now not only do I have the house building equity, but I've got a business that I get some additional tax write-offs and stuff like that because I've got a rental property.
Yeah. My son, 20 years old, his girlfriend, also 20 years old, owns her own home and has 3 roommates. So she doesn't have to pay the mortgage. So, I mean, and
there you go. Get your house for free, right? You don't have to pay for it, right? This is the stuff, but I don't think anybody's talking about it. They just expect that, okay, well, I've graduated college. I've got this degree. And we're going to do a show on that one too. I've got this degree. I should have a high-paying job making, you know, 6 figures out of the gate, and I should be able to afford a $500,000 home. You know, the environment we've been living in the last, you know, call it 8-10 years with the low interest rates and stuff like that. Again, that was fake. That was false. You know, and everybody's freaking out because interest rates are over 6% now. When I bought my house, and this is, you know, at the turn of the century, way back then, my first home, you know, when we were coming out of the 1900s, interest rates were 30-year fixed, good credit, 8%. Well, how did you afford it? Well, houses were a little lower then, but not significantly so, because here's the thing, incomes were a lot lower then too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, I was making $70,000 a year. I think that first job that I had, that real job, I had a family, a new family that was starting up. And, it's one of those things that you figure out a way to make it happen. So, that's part of it, is look for the solution. And that's the other thing I want to talk about too. You've got to take it out of your head. And that's a middle class way of thinking. And I'm middle class, right? And I was born what I like to call upper lower class. But I was born in a lower income class family. Not that we were poor. I would never consider ourselves poor, and I never thought of myself as poor because we made do with what we had. But that mindset of I can't afford it. Well, yeah, you can. It's just figure out how can I afford it. That's the question you need to be asking. Not I can't afford it, because then your mind shuts down and you get angry, bitter, whatever. You start making TikTok videos, crying to other people that, let's be honest, they don't really care either. They just want to watch the misery. But you look at that, and you shift that mindset of how can I afford it? What can I do to make that happen? Just like buying a home. Your friend, that was a great example, right? Or your son's girlfriend. I mean, here she is. I've got a couple that I'm working with. They're 24 years old, one income because the other person's a student, and they're working and they've got a great setup and they're putting money away for the future. And because they've got so much time, they're building wealth with very little money because they're planting seed money now with compounding. Buying the house, just like you said, that asset is going to grow. I mean, housing traditionally goes up over value over time. There's the hiccups like 2008. I think we're getting ready to head into another one now. But because of that low interest rate, that artificially low interest rate we had, people were buying houses, racking up the values. And so it did price out of the market, but it didn't price you out of buying a home. Right. It priced you out of the neighborhood you may have wanted. And that's where that mental shift comes in, right? Of how can I afford it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, we're doing a book club. We're reading Secrets of a Millionaire Mind with our company. And, one of the things, which this is not to bring up Donald Trump, like him or hate him, I don't care. But they were talking about like that money mindset, right? He's like, can you imagine Donald Trump only having several $1 million, right? Yeah. Like he would feel like he's broke. So I think a part of that piece too, it's yes, not saying I can't afford it, but how can I afford it? And then also like what does like changing our mindset around money of what is possible, right? I think we put this cap on ourselves.
Yeah. Where's your thermostat? And that's the thing. I love that book, and FYI folks, we do a book club every Wednesday. It's at 1:00 Eastern, noon. If you want to join us, we'll post the link down below. But it's open to everybody, and we read different books. You can do Audible or whatever the case, and we have people that join us just to listen in. We have people that join into the conversation. We don't get anything political. We don't do anything like that. It's just straight up trying to learn about money. But you're more than welcome to join us. But that's the thing. It's that mindset of, okay, how can I afford it? Let me go, look for an affiliate program. There's a ton of affiliates out there. You can find them. Now, don't get me wrong, do your homework, right? Don't just trust the first one that pops up, because there are scams on the internet and on TikTok and social media. I don't know if you knew that or not, but check that out. And I've got one lady actually reached out to her yesterday to see if we can do an interview on our podcast, because we do a podcast as well. And I think that would be a good ad, but it's really coming back to that. Where are you at mentally, as far as, are you okay with being a victim, or are you ready to knuckle up and fight for the life you want? And you don't have to get aggressive about it. You don't have to get, abrasive about it, but just understanding that nobody owes you anything. You've got to figure it out. But there are a lot of people like Wendy, myself, the channel we do here, and others that want to help you get there. Do your homework, do your due diligence. Don't just blindly trust and throw money at something thinking that's going to be the end all and do all. You got to look at what's called your return on investment, which we're going to talk about college next time, and the return on investment there. But it's one of those things that, really taking that accountability and looking at, okay, well, if I want to buy a house, I can't afford it on my own. Okay, let's bring some people in to help pay for it. Well, they're not just going to, oh, yeah, let me help you pay for your house. They're going to want to exchange it for rent and things like that. They're going to live in one of the rooms or whatever. And there's a process you follow for all of that. Or, hey, I want to be able to put money away to pay off my bills, to go out and start saving for, wealth building, retirement, stuff like that. Okay, well, I can't afford it. It's so tight right now. Well, how can you afford it? That's the question. How can I afford it? Let me go get plugged in with some affiliate programs. Right? There's a ton of them out there. Let me go do a side gig, a side hustle. And I'm not talking, getting a night job at the grocery store where they're paying you an hourly, although that's a possibility. But looking to take what you love to do, figure out what you love to do, what your gifts are, what you get excited about, and see if there's an affiliate program out there attached to it. Yep. I know you work with a lot of people, Wendy, that, work different businesses, network marketing, things like that, just for a few extra bucks, $400 or $500.
Yeah. I mean, and I've heard this through the years, and I've found it to be true. An extra $500 a month for families can make a huge difference, right? When they're intentional with their money. And yeah, I mean, network marketing, it's fairly simple to share something you love and make an extra $500 a month, and so, and there's so many different ways. I talk about, monetizing your genius. Like you said, find that thing you're good at, find a way to make money doing it. I mean, I read a story about a teacher years ago who, felt maxed out, right? I can only teach and get a certain salary. What can I do outside of that? Started a YouTube channel to teach English to kids in a different country and that spoke a different language as their first language, and built this YouTube channel, and then did private lessons and wound up being a multimillionaire. Like there's so many.
I mean, that's just
so many
one
things.
example.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, well, that's not for me. I can't do that. Well, okay, so go find something else. So, to kind of close out here, because we're coming up on our time, number one, stop saying I can't afford it. You've got to change your mindset to how can I afford it? How can I make this happen? Because in the end, it's all up to you, right? Don't think that living in your basement when you're 40 is cool. It's not, okay? Or your parents' basement, excuse me. And that's one of the things that I know it's temporary. There's some temporary, probably just triggered some people, right? I'm not talking to you. I'm talking about the people I'm talking about that like never want to leave because they think they can't afford life out there. You know what? I know Southern California is expensive. Maybe look somewhere else. I know living downtown in a cool condo is expensive. Maybe start somewhere else or live somewhere else and work towards that. And, start encouraging, or encourage you to read, start getting stuff. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that book, changed my life. I read it when it first came out. I read multiple books since then. That's why I started a book club to help other people just like you kind of expand your mindset around money, So number one, change your point of view, change your perspective, change your mindset from I can't afford it to how can I make this happen? Okay. Number two, you got to get real intentional about your money. We talked about building a budget, or I like to call it a spending plan, is spending tomorrow, but I'm going to be intentional with every single dollar I have. Number three, ask yourself, are the purchases you're doing today, is that really making you wealthy? Is it moving you closer to your financial goals or further away? And what I'm talking about, if you're not brown bagging your lunch, if you're eating lunch out every day because you want to be cool, you're just freaking lazy, stop it. Okay. If you're out there going to Starbucks and spending $5 for a cup of coffee, I'm sorry, there is no damn cup of coffee worth $5 in the United States. It just doesn't happen. Right? Every once in a while, go have fun, go plan it, go spend it, right? But if you're doing that every day, is that the highest and best use of your money? So get intentional about your money. And number three, just start making it happen. Take action, baby steps. Get around like-minded people. Change the people you're currently around, and really start getting around with people that see the possibility, that are the optimists out there, that don't look at a negative lifestyle. If you've got friends being negative around you, that's nothing but a dark negative cloud around you in your life. Get away from it. Cut them loose, right? I don't care if it's family, friends, whatever. I'm not saying hate them and block them and don't talk to them ever, but get away from that on a daily basis. Yep. So those are three big takeaways for you right there. But again, stop saying I can't afford it, because you can. It's all about finding a way. We live in the best country for an opportunity that you're ever going to find on this planet. And I've traveled around quite a bit. Why do you think so many people want to come to America? Why do you think we have hundreds of thousands of people flowing across our borders every day? Don't even get started on that. But my point is, they all want to come to the America with the opportunity, and you're here. Make it happen, but stop being a victim. I'll get off my soapbox. Anything to close us with, Wendy?
You got it. You said it all.
Hey, I want to tell you right now, if you're watching this, I know you want to learn. You're awesome. You just haven't figured it out yet. Okay. So keep doing what you're doing. And I'm talking to the viewers out there. Go watch some of our past episodes. Go to our podcast. We're on your favorite podcast platform now. Or if you want to catch some back episodes of our videos, this is our 133rd video, teaching everybody about money, small business owners, families, everybody about how you can increase your money game with money moves. Go to blackswanmoney.com and make it happen. But again, it's just knuckle up and do it. It's literally that simple. So everybody have a great day. We'll see you next Tuesday for another exciting money moves. And I think we're going to be talking about colleges. I'm just going to talk about that a little bit too. I'm still feeling that rant. I got to get some stuff off my chest, folks. So Wendy, great seeing you, everybody. Have a great day.